me ask you something right off the bat. Have you ever walked through an old stadium, an abandoned mall, or maybe even a forgotten amusement park? There's this strange mix of excitement and sadness when you see something that was once alive with energy, now left in silence. Well, Formula One has its own versions of these ghostly places, abandoned tracks. These were once the Colosseums of motorsport, where legends like Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, and Lewis Hamilton made history. Today, some are parking lots, some are tourist photo ops, and some are nothing but cracked tarmac being swallowed by weeds. So, what actually happens to abandoned F1 tracks? Why do some vanish without a trace, while others remain as ghostly ruins? And could some even make a comeback in the future? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see that these tracks tell us more than just racing history. They reveal the politics, the money, and even the culture behind Formula One. 1. Nature reclaims them. Let's start with the creepiest one, when nature decides to take back what belongs to her. Take the Charade Circuit in France, for example. Back in the 1960s, this place was known as the French Nürburgring, twisting mountain roads, blind corners, and an unforgiving landscape. Jim Clark raced there. Graham Hill raced there. It was brutal and beautiful at the same time. But once Formula One left in 1972, the circuit wasn't maintained. Slowly, grass cracked through the asphalt. Trees swallowed whole sections of the road. Today, if you walk through it, it feels more like hiking a nature trail than visiting a racetrack. And this is a recurring theme. When F1 leaves, the weeds move in. Cracked tarmac, vines crawling over old pit walls, rusted grandstands squeaking in the wind. It's like the set of a zombie movie. Here's something interesting. Fans of urban exploration, the people who sneak into abandoned buildings and post those eerie photos online, have started doing the same with F1 tracks. They treat them like ghost towns, capturing haunting shots of empty start/finish lines and graffiti-covered pit boxes. It makes you wonder, should we preserve these places like monuments, or let them fade back into nature? What do you think? Would you rather see an abandoned track turned into a tourist spot, or left to rot as a piece of racing folklore? Drop your thoughts in the comments. 2. Redevelopment into everyday life. Now let's talk about tracks that don't just fade, they completely vanish. The best example? The Caesars Palace Grand Prix in Las Vegas. In 1981 and 1982, Formula One thought it would be a genius idea to hold a race in a hotel parking lot. Yes, really. The layout was flat, soulless, and drivers absolutely hated it. Nelson Piquet even said he got dizzy from the endless 90-degree corners. After 2 years, the race was scrapped. And what happened to the track? Well, if you've ever been to the Las Vegas Strip, you've probably walked over it without even knowing. The parking lot was reabsorbed into the Caesars Palace Resort. Today, not a single trace of that F1 track remains. It's like it never existed. But this happens a lot. Montjuic Park in Barcelona was once one of the most dangerous street circuits in F1 history. In 1975, a crash killed 5 spectators and the track was abandoned. Today, Montjuic is just a peaceful public park where people jog, walk dogs, and picnic, completely unaware that these same streets once hosted Formula One cars screaming by at 180 miles per hour, surviving for other motorsports. Here's the thing. Just because a track is abandoned by Formula One doesn't mean it's dead. Take Imola in Italy. After Ayrton Senna's tragic accident in 1994, F1 eventually moved away from the circuit, partly because of safety concerns. For years, Imola seemed like it was fading. But MotoGP, touring cars, and local series kept it alive. And then in 2020, guess what? Formula One came back. Today, Imola is once again a fan favorite, proving that some tracks can rise from the ashes. Another example, Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia. It hosted F1 from 1999 to 2017, but the government pulled funding because it wasn't profitable. However, Sepang didn't die. It's now a hub for MotoGP and local events, and fans still call it one of the best designed modern tracks. This shows us that abandoned doesn't always mean forgotten. Sometimes it's just a break. Sometimes F1 leaves, but other motorsports keep the fire burning. And it makes you wonder, could some old tracks ever return? Could we see F1 back in Malaysia? Or maybe even a wild revival of something like Reims with modern safety upgrades? Stranger things have happened in F1. 5. Why do tracks get abandoned? At this point, you might be asking the big question, why does this keep happening? Why abandon these places in the first place? Well, there are a few reasons. 1. Safety. Old-school tracks like the Nürburgring Nordschleife were breathtaking, but way too dangerous for modern F1 speeds. After Niki Lauda's fiery crash in 1976, F1 said no more. Money. Hosting a Grand Prix is insanely expensive. Governments often lose money, so they pull out. That's why Malaysia left in 2017. The ticket sales didn't justify the cost. 3. Urban growth. Sometimes cities outgrow the space. What was once empty land for a circuit becomes prime real estate for housing, malls, or highways. And here's the irony. Tracks like Caesar's Palace, which drivers hated, once made the calendar because of money. Meanwhile, fan-favorite classics get abandoned. Doesn't seem fair, does it? Closing thoughts. Abandoned F1 tracks are more than just ruins. They're reminders of how fast the sport evolves, how brutal the business side can be, and how history never fully disappears. Some are ghost towns, covered in vines and graffiti. Some are hiding in plain sight, disguised as city streets. Some are reborn with other motorsports. And a few, like Imola, even get a second chance with Formula One itself. So next time you're driving down an empty road or walking through a quiet park, think about this. Maybe, just maybe, you're standing on forgotten racing history. Now I want to hear from you. If you could visit one abandoned F1 track, either as it is now or during its glory days, which one would it be? Reims? Detroit? Caesar's Palace? Or maybe the mighty old Nürburgring? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you enjoy exploring the hidden stories of motorsport, make sure to stick around, because we've got plenty more racing mysteries coming your way.